Okay, it occurs to me that in my last video, I guess I'll turn that off. In my last video on giving a definition of God, I did not properly explain why I thought such a definition of God would function well for the secular humanist. Because it sounded certainly like I was suggesting a being who has the three traits I mentioned, and it probably would help if I explained why more. Well, for one thing, this three principles balancing each other approach, I think, gets out of some of the conceptual, or I should say, consistency conflicts that a lot of other models of God I've heard. Secondly, however, I would suggest that this can also be used by the kind of Christian atheists that have arisen after the popularity of Jordan Peterson. And what I mean by that is that there is, and maybe you're not aware of this, maybe you don't think they'll last. I don't know myself how all that's gonna work out. But obviously, I think I can drive with that on. Yeah, now you got light. Okay, so the idea is that a lot of people have discovered, I say a lot, I have no idea what percentage. I know when you find the circles these people inhabit, there seems to be a lot of them. And, there may be, maybe 1 in 100 or something like that I would throw out, or 1 in 500. I don't think it would be as small as 1 in 1,000, at least not in the States and in Europe. But the States and in Europe, there seems to be quite a few. So anyway, these are individuals who have, if I understand them correctly, discovered that Christianity gives drive and emphasis and push and I can't think of the word I want to use, but I guess those will do, towards living correctly. That there is the, well, should I not eat the ice cream, or should I eat the ice cream? And a lot of people have discovered that without a larger story, something that transcends, something that engages the ancient circuitry of religion that we all have. And I'm not saying religion specifically, but I'm talking about the circuitry behind religion that religion utilizes. They've discovered if they don't have that, then it's much harder to say, okay, I'm not going to eat the ice cream because I'm going to become the strongest individual I can. I'm going to ascend. And this is not in I'm going to ascend to the top of the businesses so I can stand on other people's necks. This is a genuine, I want to be a loving individual, and I want to express love and find love and experience it and abide in it and be in it. These kind of can't think of the word. Sorry. Experiential. I can't think of the word. Okay, so the way this model works then for these people, I would suggest, is by showing how a dynamic of our love, which I defined in my last video, our abilities, or capacities at least, and our willingness to be reasonable and consistent. And I take consistency to include something like livability, something like that, and wisdom. livability and wisdom, which are related, because I think wisdom in the end is something like the capacity to see how things interconnect, rather than expertise, which drills down into a series of, granted, interconnected, but not interconnected with the whole of existence. Interconnected parts so that you know how to do an area of expertise, how to fulfill those, how to utilize that data. But wisdom is more like to see the patterns that emerge, to see the way, for instance, in archetypical terms, there's a yin-yang relationship within the left and right hemispheres, between what we could call male energy and female energy. Those are archetypes. I'm not claiming women have to behave a certain way or men have to behave a certain way. I'm talking about when the patterns emerge and coalesce, and there's a pattern of patterns that emerges, that's the way they're structured. It just is. Now, maybe society can change that. I don't know. I'm skeptical, but I'm not going to rule that out. I'm not going to say, no, you have to obey the archetype. I'm not interested in doing that. But I am interested in finding truth. And truth is not always what we want it to be. Okay. So, got off on a little bit of a rabbit trail there. So when you have these three dynamics, the love balancing, love balanced by reason or consistency and capacity. So what can you do in the real world? This is like the practical, the consistency, or not consistency, what you can do, your abilities and capacities is kind of the practical sphere and the conceptual sphere, and then the love dimension is kind of like the social sphere, if you're familiar with my map of concepts, which I'm still trying to update and refine. So yeah, I hope that's obvious. I can't think of how else to expand on that at the moment. There is so the Jordan Peterson people are very familiar with using God as an analogy, and as such, I don't think a stretch at all for them to use these three ideas of God, the embodiment of our highest values, as just it's an abstraction to them, or maybe even an archetype for them, but it is meaningful, and I'm trying to show that even if you are not one of these people who have discovered that kind of acting as if, as Jordan Peterson says, acting as if God exists is beneficial to you. If you're not one of those people, you might still be able to see this trinity of principles. I swear I didn't intend it to be a trinity. Could be useful in how you balance these three probably most important principles of our lives. If you don't have love, then you're not forming community. If you do not have consistency, then you're contradicting yourself. And if you do not know how to use your capacities and how to grow your capacities, then you are powerless. Okay, I think that's good. Thank you.